this $80 pile of bricks burns one log for 10 hours straight and heats a whole house forever. Why aren't we using it? Engineers have known this low-tech solution for centuries. The industry hides it. Look at this barrow. Look at the cob bench wrapped around it. Total cost of materials? Around $80. Total heat output per armful of twigs? Enough to keep one family warm for a full 24 hours. Compare a $3,000 cast iron stove that eats a full cord of wood every 2 weeks. The math is absurd. The physics is even more absurd. Why isn't this device in every cold house? The reason isn't technical, it's a problem of permission. Why does your wood stove waste 90% of fire? How much did you pay last winter just to stay warm? $300? $800? $2,000? In northern regions, families spend 40% of monthly income on heating. Cordwood prices doubled in 5 years. Pellet stoves jumped from $200 per ton to over $400. Natural gas? Up 60%. Electricity? Here is the cruel joke. Your expensive certified wood stove, the one the salesman called high efficiency, that stove is dumping most of its heat straight up the chimney. Watch the smoke rising in winter. That gray plume above any rooftop is not exhaust. That plume is your money rising into cold air. Those are the calories from the log you split last weekend. Gone. Vented. Wasted into a sky needing nothing. The heating industry trained you to believe there are only 3 options: gas, electric, or a fancy stove. Every option locks you to a grid, a meter, a supplier, and a price that only climbs higher. They feel there is no alternative. They were never shown one. But a forgotten design quietly solves it. The device has a name. It is called a rocket mass heater. And the word rocket is not marketing. It is literal. When this thing fires, the combustion chamber sounds exactly like a small jet engine roaring. A low, steady, constant roar. No smoke from the chimney, just clean, hot air pouring into the room. Inside the device, temperatures climb past 1200 degrees Celsius. That is significantly hotter than molten lava itself, hotter than most industrial furnaces ever reach, all from a handful of dry sticks gathered from any forest. The man who pioneered the modern version is named Ianto Evans, working back in the late 1980s at a place called Cob Cottage Company in the deep forests of Oregon. Evans gathered a small group. His team of natural builders started experimenting. They combined 3 forgotten old ideas from across the entire world: the Chinese kang bed, the Korean ondol floor, the European masonry stove. 3 ancient heating traditions all merged. They stripped each design down to its physical essence and rebuilt it from barrels, bricks, clay, and sand.
Materials anyone could easily find. Materials that cost almost nothing. The result embarrassed the entire wood stove industry. So naturally, it was quietly kept out of building codes for almost 40 years straight. Not because dangerous, because it was too cheap. If a family could build their own one in a weekend for $80,
who would buy a $4,000 pellet appliance? Who would sign a propane delivery contract? Absolutely nobody. Here is what makes a rocket mass heater different from every other wood-burning device on Earth today. The fire does not burn upward like normal. The fire burns sideways, then downward, then upward again. The combustion chamber is literally shaped like the letter J. You feed small sticks down through the vertical leg, gravity pulls the sticks straight in. The fire then rips horizontally across the bottom of that J shape. Then the superheated gas is forced upward through a tall insulated chimney we call the heat riser. That heat riser is the real secret weapon, wrapped tightly in dense ceramic fiber or volcanic perlite insulation. The insulation traps the heat inside the gas stream. Temperature climbs so high inside that vertical riser, every particle of smoke, every drop of creosote, every molecule of volatile gas, all of it ignites again. A second burn.
Then a third complete burn, full combustion. Almost 0 emissions ever leave the chimney pipe. Hold a piece of plain white paper above the chimney exit of a properly tuned rocket mass heater. After 30 full minutes of burning, the paper still stays perfectly white. No soot, no tar, nothing visible. Just clean carbon dioxide and water vapor escape outside. And this is not new science, not even close. Masonry stove builders across Germany, Russia, Finland and Sweden have quietly used these same principles for centuries. The Kachelofen, the Russian Pech, the Finnish contraflow. All squeeze every last calorie out before exhaust escapes. The rocket mass heater is simply the cheapest possible version of that same ancient physics, stripped completely down, completely open source. Built for ordinary people with no welding skills and no fancy engineering degree at all. Here's what conventional stove makers will not admit.
That EPA-certified wood stove is rated 70% thermally efficient. Sounds decent? It is not. That number is measured inside a laboratory under perfect conditions, not your real home. With real firewood carrying real moisture, real-world efficiency drops closer to 50% of the rated number. Half of every log you burn is gone before it warms a single fingertip inside your cold cabin. Independent labs, including Aprovecho Research Center in Oregon, measured rocket mass heaters at over 90% overall efficiency. Some configurations hit 94% efficiency, the kind you only see inside industrial boilers costing $40,000. The wood stove industry doesn't want you to know this gap exists, because the premium stove market would collapse. Why pay $3,000 for a soapstone box that wastes half your wood when a barrel wastes nothing? Every wisp of smoke leaving your chimney is unburned fuel, hydrocarbons that should have become useful heat instead. The rocket design burns those gases completely. The conventional stove vents them straight out into the freezing winter sky. The difference between a heating bill of $120 and a bill of $1,200, same wood, same brutal winter, different physics entirely. So why aren't we using rocket heaters absolutely everywhere yet? Hold that question for one moment. The Cob bench is where the real theft of stored heat truly happens.
Here's what most people miss about a rocket mass heater. The barrel is not the actual heater itself. The barrel is just a radiator giving you a quick flash of warmth when you first light the fire. The real heater is the bench, long, low, sculpted from clay, sand, straw and stone, wrapping the room. Inside the Cob bench hides a snaking stovepipe duct carrying hot exhaust slowly, lazily, for 10 meters or more. Exhaust travels and surrenders heat to surrounding mass, reaching the outdoor chimney barely warmer than room temperature. You can press your bare hand against the chimney exit and feel nothing but a gentle, harmless, warm breath. Where did all that heat go? Into the mass. Into the Cob structure weighing 1 to 2 full tons. And Cob holds heat the way a desert stone holds the noon sun, long after the fire goes out. The bench keeps radiating warmth 8 hours, 12 hours, even 24 from a single 45-minute burn. One armful of twigs, not logs, twigs. Fallen branches gathered in the yard with no axe and no chainsaw. One armful in the J-tube runs under an hour, storing enough heat for the entire evening or night. Compare that to a box stove demanding big logs seasoned 2 years, reloaded every 40 minutes around the clock. Eating a cord of wood every 2 weeks during the deep months, a brutal, endless winter feeding routine. The rocket mass heater? That same cord lasts the entire winter, 10 times lower wood consumption, sometimes much more. Let the numbers land. Annual fuel cost for an average household eating with cordwood runs around $1,200. A family running a rocket mass heater on free scraps drops the annual cost to $120, sometimes zero. The device pays for itself in one winter, sometimes in one single month. Build it for $80. Here is the parts list, written down. One used 55-gallon steel barrel, $10 to $15 at any scrapyard. 25 fire bricks. Around $40 at a brick supplier. Buckets of natural clay from a riverbank, free. A few buckets of sand, free or $5. A bale of straw, $5. 2 meters of standard 6-inch stovepipe and one elbow, around $20. A small bag of perlite or ceramic blanket for the riser insulation, $10. Total around $80. That is it. No welding, no special tools, no permits in most rural areas. Just a shovel and wheelbarrow, a level, and a friend to mix mud. Build sequence. Start by mixing the cob on a tarp. 3 parts sand, 1 part clay, a handful of chopped straw. Stomp it with bare feet until stiff. This becomes the body of the bench. Next, lay the J-tube. Place fire bricks shaped like letter J. The short feed leg stands vertical, about 30 centimeters tall. The horizontal burn tunnel runs 50 centimeters. The heat riser climbs about 1.5 meters. Wrap it in perlite mixed with thin clay slip, or use a ceramic fiber blanket. That insulation is the heart of the rocket effect, simple but powerful. Drop the steel barrel upside down over the heat riser, leaving 5 centimeters between riser top and barrel ceiling. Hot gas slams into the barrel top, swirls down the sides, and exits through a hole at the base. From that exit hole, run a stovepipe in a long, gently sloping snake through the cob bench body. Bury the pipe under 5 centimeters of cob. Sculpt the bench any shape: couch, bed, kitchen seat. Run the pipe tail outside as your chimney. It barely warms. Almost all heat lives inside the bench. First burn test. Drop dry twigs and crumpled newspaper down the feed tube. Light it from below. Within 60 seconds, the flame stops climbing. It turns sideways, pulled into the horizontal burn tunnel like a magnet. You hear a low rumble, then a roar. The rocket has started. Place your hand above the barrel. Within 3 minutes, the barrel is too hot to touch. Infrared shows the skin over 400 degrees Celsius. The bench? A gentle 60 degrees. Perfect for sitting. Perfect for sleeping. Perfect for a cat who never leaves.
Now the math proving this title is not clickbait. Numbers the wood stove industry doesn't want you knowing. A standard oak log delivers about 80,000 British thermal units when fully burned. That is raw fuel energy. A typical wood stove running at 50% real-world efficiency captures only 40,000 BTUs into your room. The other 40,000 fly straight up the chimney as hot smoke. Multiply that loss across one winter, you end up paying for 2 full cords of wood just to get the actual heat of one. A rocket mass heater running at 90% captures 72,000 BTUs from the same single log. That is almost double. But here is the deeper twist. Because the heater stores its heat in mass, you do not need a big log. You need small dry sticks. Just a few handfuls of kindling. 8,000 BTUs from one armful of twigs, slowly released into the room over 12 full hours.
Feels warmer than 80,000 BTUs, blasted out of a roaring stove for 2 hours, then gone. For a household in a cold climate, the annual savings easily clears $1,000 every winter. In Alaska, Montana, northern Canada, parts of Siberia, savings run higher, 2,000, 3,000, year after year. And the fuel? Fallen branches, construction scrap, pallet wood, dead standing trees, stuff you used to throw away, free energy, free gas. This low-tech solution pays for itself before the first snow even melts. The lifespan of a properly built rocket mass heater is over 20 years with almost zero maintenance. The barrel might need replacing once. The fire bricks last decades. The cob bench is essentially adobe. Adobe houses have stood for 1,000 years in New Mexico and Yemen. This is real infrastructure. This is not a gadget. Build it once, heat your home for an entire human generation. So why is this still illegal in most United States jurisdictions?
Why aren't we using it everywhere? Until 2023, American building codes had no category for a rocket mass heater anywhere. No category meant no permit. No permit meant no insurance. No insurance meant no legal install. Most homeowners could not legally install one inside a permitted dwelling. The device sat in legal limbo.
For 40 years, it lived in a gray zone. Not banned, not allowed, just completely invisible. Why? Ask who benefits from your dependence on a utility meter. Who funds the lobbyist writing residential building codes? Gas companies, electric utilities, stove manufacturers. None want a future where families heat homes for $120 yearly. That future destroys a business model worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The industry doesn't want you knowing. A handful of states finally started writing rocket mass heaters into code. Oregon, Washington, Vermont, Maine. Recognition came after the Wisner team published detailed engineering data showing the devices were safer than open fireplaces. But in most of the country, you still need to build one in an outbuilding, workshop or greenhouse. A tiny house on wheels or a rural property with no inspector knocking at your door works perfectly fine. The low-tech revolution is already starting. People are building these things by the thousands across every continent. Forums full of plans, open-source manuals, free design software. Information cannot be put back in the bottle. Forget about gas boilers. Forget about pellet stoves. The next generation of warm houses will burn almost no fuel. One last thing before you start gathering bricks. A rocket mass heater is not a toy. Never forget that. The internal temperatures are real. The combustion physics are real. Build carefully. Read the existing manuals. Follow proven dimensions. The most common mistake beginners make is shrinking the heat riser. A short riser kills the draft completely. A short riser turns a rocket back into a smoky stove. Respect the ratios. They matter enormously here. The horizontal burn tunnel should be about half the height of the heat riser. Always measure twice. Cross-sectional area should stay constant from the feed tube all the way through the burn chamber.
Get those ratios right and the device will run flawlessly for decades. Simple but powerful, low-tech solution. Site this heater on solid floor. Cob is heavy. 2 tons of bench demands a slab or compacted earth. Run a real metal chimney through the wall, properly sealed and rated. Install a carbon monoxide detector immediately. Sweep the duct yearly, although in practice there will be nothing to sweep because clean combustion leaves no residue. Build one this summer, you'll spend one weekend, $80 and a couple of sore muscles. That's it. Then you'll spend the rest of your life laughing every single time you walk past the propane delivery truck. If you're into low-tech solutions like this, subscribe. Next video, solar water heater from old car radiators. $40 buys you free hot water year-round, even on cloudy days.
Share this with anyone building a house. Forget expensive heating systems. Forget being chained to a utility meter. The bricks sit at the hardware store, waiting. Clay waits in earth beneath your feet. Fire has burned for thousands of years. Why aren't we using it? See you in the next low-tech breakdown. Subscribe,